A very warm welcome and a good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of the weekend edition. It is a Palm Sunday, a very special day in the Christian calendar it is. And welcome back for all of you who went to church today. I believe it was a very special mass, very special celebration as we actually celebrate Palm Sunday. It is a doorway to the Passion of Christ. And today we are going to discuss the significance of the Palm Sunday. What does the Palm Sunday really mean to us as Christians and as the church at large? Well, welcome once again, and as we commemorate the triumphant entry, welcome once again as we commemorate the triumphant entry of Jesus Christ into Jerusalem, marking the beginning of the Holy Week. We are honored to be joined by the Reverend Father John Kennedy Onoba from Mbuya Parish, who will help us to reflect more deeply on the meaning and significance of this sacred day. Thank you so much, Father, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nora, for having me once again on the TV. And I welcome also our viewers who are watching us in different places this Palm Sunday. As Nora has already said, my name is Father John Kennedy Onoba. I'm a priest, a Comboni missionary priest, and I work at Our Lady of Africa Parish, Mbuya.
Well, thank you so much, Father, for joining us. And once again, as I earlier on stated in my introduction, what exactly is the significance of the Palm Sunday to not just individuals, but broadly as a church today?
Yeah, Palm Sunday is a very important day. It's a very important Sunday in the liturgical calendar, as it marks the beginning of the Holy Week. The Holy Week is the most sacred time in the liturgical calendar of the Catholic Church because it begins a very important activity in the life of the Church, but also in the life of Jesus Christ himself. As we commemorate the Palm Sunday today, it is a commemoration also of the glorious or triumphant entry into Jerusalem of Jesus Christ, where people were already expecting him to enter Jerusalem. And the crowds that gathered were waving palms. That is the historical part of it. They were waving palms to welcome him. So for the people of that time, it was a fulfillment. Jesus' entry into Jerusalem was a fulfillment of the promised hope, the promised Messiah. They were expecting a king to come into Jerusalem, a king who would also rescue them from the Roman authority, the Roman Empire. Remember, at that time, Jerusalem or Israel were ruled by the Roman authorities, and the Pontius Pilate was the king at the time of Jesus. And so they expected someone who would liberate them from that tyrannic rule of the Roman Empire. So Jesus coming in was seen as that king, that Messiah who would save them from the Roman authorities. And so welcoming him into Jerusalem was expected, was necessary. And the palms were also to symbolize their joy of welcoming a king into their midst. So for us also as Christians, as we celebrate Palm Sunday, Jesus Christ is also a Messiah in our lives. And also we join the people of those days, people of the ancient time, to celebrate the triumphant entry of Jesus Christ into our lives. Yeah, I think that is what the significance of Palm Sunday is for us, that we joined, we welcome Jesus Christ, who is entering triumphantly into our life, but also because he's beginning a journey that is very important for the people, for the faithful, and for the church.
A journey very important, and a journey that really changed, made a mark in the history really of our Christian lives. We just someone may actually wonder and ask, why does the church begin really the Holy Week with this particular celebration of Jesus's entry into Jerusalem? It is a question that would actually bubble someone's mind. It's like, why is the Holy Week actually celebrated with this, started with this particular celebration of Jesus coming into Jerusalem? in a triumphant way in the entry actually of Jerusalem. Just help us explain that, please.
Yeah, and Palm Sunday, as I said, sets the stage for the passion of our Lord Jesus Christ. While it is a triumphant entry of Jesus Christ into Jerusalem, when we celebrate this day, the church invites all the faithful to walk step by step with Jesus Christ, to walk faithfully with Jesus Christ, to experience what Jesus Christ experienced, and this experience is going to be throughout the Holy Week. So with the Palm Sunday, we are entering into the Holy Week, and we are going to make a journey that will eventually culminate into the death, the suffering, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So when we walk step by step with Jesus Christ, we are actually imitating his journey. We are also experiencing somehow in our lives what Jesus Christ experienced in his life, and that helps to strengthen our faith. And so the significance, or even the reason why we need to celebrate the Passion Sunday, or Palm Sunday is also called the Passion Sunday, is to strengthen our faith in Jesus Christ as we walk step by step with him on his journey to Calvary, which will eventually culminate into the resurrection on the Easter day.
Yes.
And so there are quite a number of significant celebrations that take place during this Holy Week after the Palm Sunday. We have the washing of the feet, or the institution of the Holy Sacrament of Eucharist, and which of course the Mass which takes place on Holy Thursday evening, which is called the institution of the Holy Eucharist, and the washing of the feet. We have the Way of the Cross on Good Friday, which is massively participated by many people on Good Friday. And we have, of course, the final day, the resurrection of Jesus Christ at the Easter Sunday. So when we celebrate the Passion Sunday, we are setting the stage for a full week of celebration in which we're invited to walk step by step with Jesus Christ on his journey of faith, and also our journey of faith. Thank you.
Well, you talked about setting the stage, and I think it's a very nice way to set the stage in celebration of the Holy Week, really. It is very symbolic that on a day as such as this, everyone carries the palm branches to church, and there is a lot of, celebration. And so palm branches are really a major symbol when it comes to the Palm Sunday. What do they represent biblically and spiritually?
Yeah, palms which are used on Palm Sunday. Well, people use these days any branch. If you're not able to get the palm leaves, people also can take a branch of another tree, because there are some places where there are no palm leaves at all. But historically, the people of Israel used the palm leaves to welcome Jesus Christ. Now, what does this symbolize? Why do they use the palm leaves or any other leaves, for instance, that are used? They symbolize victory and kingship. Victory and kingship. In ancient Israel, palms branches were symbolizing victory, and the royalty. Jesus was recognized as a king, as a Messiah, as I said before, was recognized as a king who would lead the people of Israel out of slavery, out of the difficulties that they were experiencing, out of the violence that they were experiencing by their surrounding neighbors. Israel was surrounded by a lot of violent people. We know about the people of Babylon, who even fought a war with the people of Israel, captured the Israelites and took them to Babylon, what in Bible history or Bible studies we call Babylonian captivity. And so when they were expecting Jesus Christ, they're expecting a king, they're expecting a Messiah, they're expecting one who would bring them into victory. And so the palms they are raising into their hands also symbolize that victory and kingship. And of course they were shouting, Hosanna, Hosanna, which was a symbol of their joy. They were joyful. It was a joyful expectation of a king that was coming into their community, into their midst, in their city, in their country. And that was what they were expecting. And the victory, we shall see whether he led them into the war, but Jesus Christ was a different type of king, as he said himself. And he was a king who was not going to be a political king as they expected, and there was going to be a king instead who would be a humble and suffer and die on a cross.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
That is two ways of looking at a king, really,
Yes,
in that
exactly.
perspective. And you have just given us a very elaborate meaning about the palms and the meaning and the significance and why it was waved at such a time with so much hope and anticipation at that point in time. And that symbolism is still carried on up to today, which is part of our celebrations, really.
Exactly.
Today, we saw a lot of that happening in the different churches.
Exactly. Actually, when we carry the palms today or on Palm Sundays, we are really joyfully joining the people of ancient Israel also to welcome the King.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
we are also welcoming him as a King, and he's a victorious King in our life. Of course, victory over sin, victory over death, because at the end of the story, it was the resurrection.
It is very interesting, really, because if you did not know well, you could actually be overshadowed by the celebration of waving the palms, and you forget, oh, it is actually a welcome, an invitation to Christ the King,
Yes.
you know, into our daily lives. Now, much as we saw or we read about how the crowds really welcomed Christ the King on Palm Sunday into Jerusalem in a very triumphant way, like you explained, he is the Savior, he has come to liberate us from all these things. And a few days later, they are shouting at him to be crucified. What does this shift tell us more about the human nature and faith? Quite contradictory there.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and I think this is one of the things most talked about, that people joyfully welcome Jesus as he triumphantly entered Jerusalem. But shortly after, I mean, a few days later, they were shouting in front of Pilate, "Crucify him." Now, we are not sure whether the same crowds that welcomed him triumphantly into Jerusalem were the same crowd that also were standing in front of Pontius Pilate and shouting, "Crucify him." Now, whether they were the same crowd or whether there was a different crowd or a mix of both, it speaks to us a lot about the human nature. You know, there are three critical issues that this experience or this contradiction, as I may call it, tell us about human beings or the human nature. The first one is that we are people who can change. Human beings can change. At any time, we can change. You can take one stand, then in a short time, you can also change and take a different stand. And especially when situations are not comfortable, when things are not easy, you know. They were shouting Hosanna in the highest and welcoming him, then shortly after, they started to shout, "Crucify him." So, one thing is that Jesus did not meet the expectation of those who were welcoming him. They expected a political leader. They expected a political king, as I said, who would liberate them from the tyranny of the Roman Empire. But Jesus Christ said his kingship is not of this world. Now, they did not expect a king who would be humiliated, a king who would be shouted at, a king who would be beaten, a king who would be crucified. That is not the type of king they expected. They expected a powerful Messiah, a powerful political leader. So when that expectation was not met, then they said, we are following a wrong man. So why should we keep following him? Actually, you crucify him. Let him get out of this place. He's not the type of person we are.
They said, what kind of king is this?
What kind of king is this? Yes. You know, our expectation of a political leader, a president, a powerful leader, yes. So that is one, that human beings can change when the expectations are not met. And that's what happened to Jesus Christ. The second thing is that human beings are capable of loving and also capable of betrayal. You know, they can love you one time and they can also betray you. You know. Jesus said himself, the people who had eaten my bread, they have turned against me. Yeah. So they actually loved him before knowing what kind of person he was. Then they betrayed him when they knew this is not the kind of person we are expecting. But that tells us a critical point about us, that that shift in behavior, that shift in mindset or mentality of loving at one point, then betraying at another time, which is very bad according to me, but it's one of the typical characteristics of human beings.
Right.
Yeah. Then the third thing, this the Hosanna in the highest, then crucify him, speak to us about human being. It's about the risk of following the crowd. There's some people follow crowds without knowing what they are actually following. I can give an example. Recently I was in Nebi during for the consecration of the new bishop of Nebi, Constantine Rupin. Then we spent our night in Angal. So one evening while we were still there, we heard a loud noise in the town. They were killing a thief. People in the trading center were killing a thief. And a lot of people, including young people, were throwing stones at him. And in fact, they killed him. He was a border thief. So when he was actually killed, some people had not known what he had done, why they were even throwing stones at him. So when I asked one person, what has he done? Why was he killed? One of those who was throwing stones at him did not know what he had done. He said, I even don't know him. I don't know what he had done. So I said, but you're also throwing stones at him. He said, yeah, people are throwing stones at him, so he also did. So the power or the risk of following the crowd was one of the things that was portrayed in the Hosanna in the highest and crucify him. Some people perhaps did not even know why they were following Jesus, why they were shouting in the Hosanna in the highest, and then eventually they started to say crucify him. So they acted because of the crowd in both ends, at the welcoming him into triumphant entry into Jerusalem, but also at the crucifixion. So they were moved by the power of the crowd. And this happens many times in our life also, that sometimes people act because of the crowd. And it could also be a risk for our faith, that also our faith may be, emotional. Our faith can be led by the crowd. And you see someone is going to church, and you also go to church. You see someone is going to Catholic church, you also go to Catholic church. You see your friends are going to the Pentecostal church, you also go to the Pentecostal church. And a lot of young people also are moved by this tendency, moving by the waves, by the
bandwagon.
winds. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is what also happened, I believe, in the life of Jesus Christ, that the power of the crowd led him to be, to be shouted, crucify him, and on the other hand, Hosanna in the highest. Yeah.
Very insightful there, because you've hinted of three very important points there. You talked about the expectations of people
not met,
versus the reality of Christ himself as a spiritual leader.
Exactly, not a political leader whom they thought would be for them.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then the sense of betrayal.
And love.
Having one attitude this side and then change the next time.
Yes.
And then we also see how joining the crowd and not knowing exactly where this is leading is also one of them.
Yes.
And these are things that really, when you look at, we experience every single day, one way or the other. I just would like to know, as a modern Christian in this age and era, how do we avoid falling into the same kind of contradiction of praising Jesus one day and then the next day we are actually rejecting him?
Well, it is possible, as I said, that the people who may praise Jesus and go to church and love him, then at the same time may find there's no meaning in doing that, so they reject him. For me, I would say that to avoid falling in such a trap, we need to examine our faith. What kind of faith do I have? What kind of faith do you have? Is it an authentic faith? Is it a faith that is moved by emotions and situations and circumstances around us? Or is it a faith that is deeply rooted in Jesus Christ, in the scriptures? So we need to have an intentional faith. Why do I have faith? Of course, we are all baptized. Many of us are baptized when we are young people, but throughout our life, we are called to deepen this faith through our study of the catechism, through the various sacraments that we receive. Beside baptism, we have the confirmation. Some parishes have even final commitment. So you finally commit yourself to something that you know and you are deeply intentional about. That I want to be a follower of Jesus Christ, no matter what, in good times and in bad times. As people who are wedding promise, yes, like
it's the same kind of vow we should have within us.
I am going to this man, I am going to this woman, well, no matter what, I will be with this person at all times. So the same should apply to our faith, that we need to be intentional about our faith. The faith has to be deeply rooted in the scriptures, in the sacraments, in the traditions of the church, and the teachings, of the church. That helps us to avoid perhaps falling in such a trap of shouting Hosanna in the highest one day, then saying crucify him in our daily life of faith. So every day when we live our faith, we have to be intentional. A deep and a personal relationship with God is also important. And that helps us to deepen that faith. Through the scriptures, when you read the scriptures, you enter into a deeper relationship with God in faith. Yeah. Another thing I would say, to avoid falling in such a trap, our faith is a faith journey, but not a journey that is moved alone. You should not move alone in your faith. There's a power of the Christian community.
So as we celebrate Palm Sundays, it is very important to keep in mind that it is actually a celebration of the start of the Holy Week, the triumphant entry of Jesus Christ into Jerusalem. It's a welcome of the King of Kings, into our lives. And this may actually mean different things to different people. Just explain to us, in ordinary circumstances, let's say someone going to school, someone going to work, and someone, stay-at-home mom, how do they welcome Christ as the King of Kings in their day-to-day lives, really?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. I think that is a deep question to reflect upon. The theme of welcoming Christ, the King of Glory or the King of Kings, is very important.
Right.
First of all, to know that Christ is the King of Glory or the King of Kings. And now knowing that he is the King of Kings, what does that mean? For me, for you, and for people in the families, what does it mean for us in our institutions, in our workplaces, and so forth? And how can we make the Christ the King of Kings, really the King of Kings in our lives? I would say there are many things that we can do. For instance, at home, one would be to create a space for that King in the family. And what does that mean? Creating a space for prayer, creating time for prayer. And the Christ is the King of Kings who is welcome into our home. And when we welcome him into our homes, in our lives, we don't leave him alone, a lonely guest. He's a guest that we need to entertain. Not just entertaining in the social aspect of it, but entertaining or being with him. Entertaining in the sense of being with this guest. So being with Christ also implies, interacting with him. Not just being silently, although one of the forms of prayer is even silence. But in this case, being with Christ is interacting with him. And interacting with him is one way of prayer. So when we welcome this Christ, the King of Kings, into our homes, we have to interact with him, creating space and time for that interaction. That is prayer. Also, we need to teach his values. We need to know the values that he stands for. And teach that value to our children, especially in the homes. Because when we welcome him and we have appreciated him, we have recognized him as the King, then what kind of King is he? What values does he stand for? Of course, one of the values of love, that stand for is love, the values of justice, the values of honesty, the values of forgiveness. We need to teach these things to our children. At a family level, first of all, we need to live them, but also to teach them to our children. So these values don't remain only with Christ the King himself, but becomes also our values, our spiritual values, our human values that we live with. Even at home, at workplaces, we recognize Christ as a king. Workplace is just a collection of people, but people who have come from different walks of life, people who are Christians, people who are of different Catholics, born-again churches, different religious backgrounds. Okay, we have also people who may not belong to any particular faith. But the value of Christ to Christians can as well be taken to workplaces. When you welcome him, I've seen many offices, they have also places of prayer. Within the office premise, there's a place of prayer. That is to say that for Christians, we go to those places, in those places of work, and the Christ is there with us.
That's interesting, because most people, when it comes to their religious life or their Christian life, it is not reflected in the workplace. They feel like that is supposed to be on another part of their life, really. It
shouldn't be, because personally I've gone to offices. I was in Kenya, I've been to Safaricom offices. They have a place of worship. You go to all international airports, there are places of worship in the airport. Sometimes even priests who are traveling and they're on a waiting time, they go and celebrate masses at the airport. And when people of your faith see that there's a mass being celebrated, they join in. So those are public places, and yet people can also use them as moments or places of worship, places of prayer. So workplaces, offices are also, there are places of worship in those places for Muslims, for Christians, and so forth. So the values of the welcoming the King of Kings can also be taken to those places, so public places.
We can also actually have the same values of welcoming the King of Kings, not just in our personal lives, but also
in public
life.
Exactly, because these values Jesus Christ teaches. For instance, honesty is one of the values that must be taken into the public space. When we are struggling with the challenges that everyone talks about, corruption, and this is a lack of taking integrity, lack of taking these values into a public place. Yes. But when we take them, because that's what he's teaching, and we take them to the public place, hopefully we shall have a society that is integral, that is honest, that is just, that is fair in judgment, and so forth. So that speaks truth. Because truth is one of the values that Jesus stands for. And even in the readings, he keeps the eyes. They wanted to kill him because they did not want truth. That is, he stands for. When we take truth in public space, when we take truth in our families, when we take truth in our institutions, schools, and so forth, I think we shall have a different society. So Christ, King of Kings, and the Palm Sunday celebration should not be celebrated only within the walls of the church, but also taken outside, so that these values are experienced and appreciated and lived.
That is so profound. Yes. I think the world would change so rapidly. Each and every Christian out there just embrace these values also in public spaces, and not just contain them to a specific place or a specific day. And it's just so profound what you said about welcoming Christ, because you can't welcome Christ, the King of Kings, and then you are practicing different things or different values, and you're not following the same values as Christ teaches us, which is very, very important, really. Well, today has been a very remarkable day in terms of celebration, Palm Sunday, everyone walking around with palms. It's really a very joyous day, especially for families. Now, when it comes to families, we see how the children are really very excited about such days. Now, tell us exactly how children can actively participate in the Palm Sunday beyond just waving palm branches in Mass.
Well, it depends on how a parish can organize, or a family can also organize, because Palm Sunday should go beyond the walls of the church, as I said. But at the parish level, most parishes have children. Some have children's mass, in which they also celebrate Palm Sunday. Others have what do you call, where the children go for their own prayers and Sunday school. Sunday school.
Yeah.
And I think Palm Sunday should be taken also to Sunday school and celebrated for children in such a way that it makes meaning to them.
Right.
What I know is that most churches are very busy and very much occupied and with a lot of activities on Sunday, because Palm Sunday is a very big celebration and there's a lot of people. Now, even there are people who don't usually go to church, but they go to celebrate Palm Sunday because they want to make this beginning of the journey of Jesus Christ together. So how can children participate in such a way that Palm Sunday is meaningful to them? As I said, it could be, I see there are many things children do. They like to fold the palms and make a cross out of the palms.
Oh, yes.
That is their own way of celebrating palm. And they're doing something very reflective, very good. Because actually they are putting in the joy of the triumphant entry of Jesus Christ into Jerusalem together with the passion. They are making a crucifix or a cross out of the palms. They actually, maybe without even knowing, they are embedding the two emotions together. The joy of waving the palm and also the cross, which actually is what we do during the celebration of the Palm Sunday. There are two emotions that are well reflected on the celebration. There is a joy at the beginning, but when you begin to read the Passion narratives, you see the emotion is turning gradually from a joyful mood into a sorrowful mood, which is expected and which is necessary. So when children, for me, that making of the palm leaves into the cross would be and they don't want to lose it. They carry it into their homes, and you'll find it when you go to Christian families after the Palm Sunday. Those crosses are there. Oh, yes. Yes. So I think that is something that is meaningful for children, and it reminds them of the Palm Sunday even while they are at home. That yes, we are the Palm Sunday. This is the evidence. Though maybe not the purpose for which they do that, but eventually, actually, it is. Yes. Yes.
So I just want us to go a little bit into still the celebration of the Palm Sunday. It is a doorway to the Passion of Christ, really. It is a celebration that can actually impact us in a good way, one way or the other, if we properly celebrate the Palm Sunday. Kindly, could you just tell us how one's journey can be impacted through the rest of the Holy Week, through the proper celebration of the Palm Sunday, proper understanding of the significance of the Palm Sunday, how it actually impacts the rest of the Holy Week for someone?
Yeah, Palm Sunday is the beginning of the Holy Week. And it, as I said, it calls us into entering into the deep mystery of the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And without that, I think we will be missing the point of the Palm Sunday. And that's why I think also in the church, the passion narrative is read on the Palm Sunday to help us to enter already into that mystery of the death and the resurrection of Christ. So we would have an empty celebration of Palm Sunday, empty in terms of our faith, if it does not help us to enter deeply into the mystery of the passion, death, and resurrection. And I think that's when we should reflect and make the day more meaningful. That it's not just a matter of waving the palms, but we enter into a deeper reality. We enter into a deeper reality, experiencing the love of God, which is manifested on the cross, which is manifested through the crucifixion. But also we are entering even into a more deeper reality of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Because without that, we will not have the resurrection. And so we are entering into the deeper mystery of being Christian, or of Christianity. Because without the Palm Sunday, without the passion, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, there is no Christianity.
Right.
We would not be Christian. I don't know what we would be by now. So these passion narratives and this entire celebration of the Palm Sunday should be a beginning for us to enter into a deeper reflection of our being Christian, of our experience in the love of God, the love of Jesus Christ, through the mystery of the cross.
Very nice.
Yes, yes.
I think what I get is that we need to be deliberate about this celebration and understand the significance so that we do not miss out on the Holy Week and what it means to us as Christians, because that is the basis of our Christianity, really, when you look at it.
So we celebrate Palm Sunday with a focus on the Holy Week.
On what's to come.
Yes, yes, with a focus on the Holy Week. And after that, of course, we already shortly after we have the Holy Thursday, we have the Good Friday, we have the vigil of the Saturday resurrection and the Sunday. Yes.
Nice.
So we don't miss that aspect, that the Holy Week in the celebration of the Passion of Palm Sunday.
Okay.
Yes.
There is a lot of preparations in regards to the celebrations, liturgical preparations, playing of music. Tell us about how this helps during the message of the celebration of the Palm Sunday. For example, the preparations in liturgy, the music that is played. How does it bring the Palm Sunday message alive during liturgy?
Yes. Music plays a very important role in liturgy generally and in the faith of people. One, I think that the music on Palm Sunday should be well selected. They should also bring us the message of Jesus Christ's passion, of this triumphant entry. That joyful mood should be reflected in music. At the same time also, without forgetting the other part, the passion aspect of it. And so people who are involved in liturgical preparation should select music very carefully so that the message of the celebration is brought out. Another part, which I think is very important, is the reading of the passion narrative. That must also be well prepared. When you prepare the reading of the passion narrative very, very well, it's like being there. It's like an action. It's like being there and being present. What is happening to Jesus Christ, and people pay attention to reading of the passion narrative. Sometimes it's dramatized. Some people dramatize it to bring out the aspect of what was happening practically or physically, vividly to the Christian community. But even if it is not dramatized, it should be well read. The different characters take their part and do it properly. So you see, it makes people participate in the entire liturgy. Not just one or two people, but the entire people get involved. When the Palm Sunday celebration is well prepared, the music, the passion narratives, and so forth, you get involved, you are moved, you are taken into the celebration, and you don't come out empty.
Right.
Yes. But when things are, somebody's struggling with the reading, the songs are not coming out very well, you get instead distracted.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But this is why generally preparation for liturgy is very important, and more importantly on this day,
Very nice.
And it helps you to enter, as I said, into the mystery of the passion and the resurrection of Christ.
There are also, you could also just tell us, you are from Mboya Parish.
Yes, I'm from Mboya Parish.
Yes, you could actually, I mean, your parishioners must be very proud right now, but you could tell us any traditional activities in your parish or in your communities that can make the Palm Sunday special or more interactive for the faithful.
Well, Mboya Parish, we try to bring liturgy alive to the people. And that is very important in all our celebrations, in the main parish church, but also in the sub-parishes. So for the Passion Sunday, for the Palm Sunday, one of the traditional way of celebrating, of course, is the gathering of people outside of the church. Now Mbuya has a very beautiful church entrance. I don't know if you have come to Mbuya recently, you need to go.
I need
a
to.
very beautiful entrance, and people gather in front of this entrance of the church, which is different from the ordinary Sunday. Ordinary Sunday, and this is what brings about the uniqueness of the Passion Sunday or the Palm Sunday, that the celebration is different, you know. So we gather in front of the church, and the same also in the outstations, to begin the celebration from outside. That procession with the palms, after the blessing of the palm, processing into the church also is something unique to the ordinary Sundays. Then, so it makes Palm Sunday a little different. It makes Palm Sunday a unique celebration. Then we don't dramatize the readings, but we read the passion narratives very passionately and very prayerfully. So that makes it, you enter into that mystery of the celebration. So I think that is what also happened in many churches, many Catholic churches. Although the other masses that are, Palm Sunday is a very long celebration. The liturgy is usually long. So also we are keeping an eye on time, so that all the masses are celebrated without much interruption. So the other masses, I may not be highlighting all the procession, the gathering outside of the church, but the key aspect of Palm Sunday are celebrated in them. Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
That's an open invitation for me to visit Mbuya, really.
So you need to come and visit
your
parish.
Yes, surely. Well, as we wind up, really, there is lots to the Palm Sunday, and really, when I think about some of the things we have discussed, it is richer than sometimes we think it is. Sometimes we limit it to the Palm Sunday, and yes, we know it's the triumphant entry of Jesus Christ, but there are so many levels to it and so much depth to the celebration of Palm Sunday.
Exactly.
And it just sets the pace for us to really get into the Holy Week with awareness and deliberation of understanding exactly what we're celebrating and what this means to us as Christians. It's very important. However, as we wind up, I still have one or two questions that I'll just want to know. We are beginning the Holy Week, and you could just tell us what is your personal message to the faithful who want to make this season more meaningful, actually, but are struggling spiritually.
Maybe not only spiritually. Every day we have different events going on in different people's life. Things going on in your life, things going on in my life. Some of them also derail us spiritually. We have people who may enter the Holy Week with a lot of burdens of pain, of loss of people, their relatives, and people may enter Holy Week with fatigue, work, and so forth. People may enter the Holy Week with sickness, personal illnesses or illness of someone in the family. People may enter Holy Week with doubts about, their relationship, doubts about, and fears that may be coming in. And all these things impact us spiritually. So for me, I would say we need to enter the Holy Week the way we are, with all these fears, with all these doubts, with all this fatigue, with all these burdens, and let us take this burden to the cross. We need to take the burden to the cross. Jesus, there's a song also says, burdens are lifted at Calvary. And I think this is the best time to take our burdens to Jesus Christ. And that's the message I would give. I would say spiritually, that is the way we should enter the Holy Week, the way we are. Someone who is entering the Holy Week joyfully, well and good, and we praise God. And I believe that many people are entering the Holy Week with a lot of enthusiasm, joy, success, laughter, and so forth. But also someone who is not entering in the same mood, entering with a different emotion, let us carry all that to Jesus Christ. Right. Because that's why he is there on the cross for us. Otherwise, why is he there on the cross? Yes.
Yeah. I take it that that is also a form of encouragement, or you can actually also add on or another word there, because to me that would just close off the day for me. That would, but just in case you could, I just add in a final word there.
For me, the final word would be the Holy Week is a very good moment for a Christian to experience the love of Christ, to experience the love of God. Just be there and let this love penetrate your life. Be there. If it means, contemplating that love at the foot of the cross, that is something worth doing. If it means contemplating that love on the way of the cross, or the public way of the cross, that is how we can experience it. If it means contemplating that love at the washing of the feet of his disciples, that is something that we can do. So for me, and if it means contemplate that love at the Eucharistic celebration, that is something that you can do. So it is a moment to experience the love of Christ in its entirety. That's what I can say. And let us experience that love.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
It has been such an honor having you once again here.
Thank you.
As we dig into the Palm Sunday and the meaning of Palm Sunday and setting the stage for the Holy Week, really. It's a reflection of love.
Yes.
No greater love
than to lay one's life for one's friends. And that is what he is doing it for us.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
And that's a very wonderful to actually end this special edition of the Weekend Edition. Thank you so much, Father.
Thank you, and I wish all our viewers a very happy Passion Week and a happy Sunday of Easter.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, as you heard Father John Kennedy Onoba, that's from Boya Parish, giving us very insightful and very in-depth discussion about this Palm Sunday and what it exactly means. I've taken in a lot, and believe me, this whole week it has set a stage for me into the celebration of the Passion of Christ, and just understanding that love is at the center of it all. We thank you so much for staying with us on the Weekend Edition. I'll see you next Sunday. My name is Nora Osende. Stay well for now.